What's up, bros and brodettes? We're here at Help I Need an Adult at Fog and Water Studios, and we're your hosts, Matt and Megan. And as always, our trusty sidekick, Mixmaster Chef. Today we have an awesome guest by the name of Jared. He's a traveler extraordinaire. He's gone to Tokyo, New Zealand, all kinds of crazy places, and he's conquered the Appalachian Trail, which is not an easy task. So remember, if you like this video or any other videos, like, subscribe, click that little bell so you get notifications every time we post something new, and spread the news of Help I Need an Adult. Thank you and have a nice day. So yeah, man, where have you been? You've been New Zealand, Tokyo.
So actually, this past trip was my first trip overseas. So I went all out. We went to New Zealand, then to Japan.
Pretty crazy, man.
But I've done a lot of travel and a lot of hiking within the U.S.
Yeah.
So in the U.S., done all the Appalachian Trail. So I got the whole East Coast wiped out.
How long did that take you?
209 days. So almost exactly 7 months.
When's the best time to start?
Yeah, if you're going to do it.
If you're going to do it.
This is the perfect, if anybody's wanting to know about the Appalachian Trail, I can tell you all the things not to do, because that's what I did.
Yeah, because I'm going to try, I'm trying to get Matt to hike more. Like I was saying earlier, I just got back from North Carolina and I hiked up Chimney Rock and got to the top of there. And I wanted to go to Hickory Nut Waterfall, but it was raining really hard.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very foggy, and I was by myself, and my cousin was making me listen to Missing 411. So I was like, I better not be near the water and the rocks, because the rock people are going to come out and get me, because obviously it's not aliens. But anyway.
Hey, I'm telling you, Missing 411, you should listen to it if you haven't. If you haven't listened to it.
No, I haven't.
It would creep you out.
It creeps you out.
It's about national parks.
And miss people.
Okay,
so I have been into this for a while because...
especially because you go...
So I hiked... My goal is to hike the entire PCT for my 30th. 29.
What's PCT for people who don't know?
Pacific Crest Trail.
Right.
And it goes from Mexico. Literally, it starts like if where your seat is this granite pillar with all these markings on it. So the official beginning of the PCT, not even 20, 30 feet behind you is the border wall.
No,
wow.
No way.
I mean, it's right there. And so there's like a row of barbed wire, and then there's the wall.
Right.
And there's helicopters that fly patrolling it constantly because Tijuana's right there.
Oh, the Tijuanans.
But where you start at is actually just outside of San Diego. It's about an hour outside of San Diego. So you were in the middle of the desert to start.
What a great way to start.
Yeah, the desert is the worst place in the world. It's beautiful, but I got to tell you, it's horrible to hike it.
It's beautiful to look at. Like if you're in a car with air conditioning and you're like, hey, that desert, that looks gorgeous, but I'm not going out there.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
It destroyed my feet. I hiked the entire Appalachian Trail and never got a single blister on my foot.
Yeah, so you're a 2,000 miler. What do they call them?
So yeah, it's a 2,000 miler. You go over 2,000 miles is how they recognize it on the AT.
Right.
Which this was in 2011 when I did it. So the trail was 2,181 miles. Now it's like 2,190 something. I think 91, 92. So it increases slowly over the years because the original Appalachian Trail started at Mount Oglethorpe in Jasper.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And went all the way to Mount Katahdin in Maine.
Right.
But literally that meant there were no switchbacks. There were no zigzags in the trail. You just went straight up. Straight down, straight up, and it was brutal. So there's still parts of the trail that are like that.
Right.
But they're slowly but surely turning it into switchbacks. It's still steep, but it's just more, it's easier to traverse. Because there's some parts in Virginia where I was literally on all fours crawling up a hill.
My goodness.
And I was just sitting there wondering, like, how do people manage this? Like, it's just incredibly difficult. But going back to the 411, the missing 411 you were talking about.
Right.
It's creepy.
So hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, when I got farther north, I did the High Sierras. Like once you finish the desert, which I only was able to do about 300 miles of, which I know when I say only in any number of miles, people are going to be like.
So you hiked 300 miles in the entire time. The desert was 300 miles.
Is remember, I believe the desert's almost 700.
Holy
How much
mother
water
of
do you
pearl.
need? I mean, like provision wise, when you're going through the desert, and at night it's going to be really cold too, right? I mean, is there
I love it when it's cold, and so it's very pleasant at night because it's so hot during the day. I started in May for the Pacific Crest Trail, which, knowing what I know now, I'm kind of a slow hiker. Like, I just really like to stop and smell the roses. I don't like to just put my head down. You do that, but I don't like to just go.
There's
like
spots where you do that, right? You just got to push through.
Like, just push through, and then when I come to a pretty spot, I want to enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
So the desert, I mean, believe it or not, the desert does have some really pretty spots, some cool spots. There was one spot that I really kind of regret, but I was so miserable. It was called Eagle Rock. I mean, but the entire pad of my foot from the front ball of my foot to the heel was just blistered.
Oh my
God,
goodness.
dude!
And
was it because it was because it was hot, or because the shoes?
It was part of the shoes, but the heat. There's so many differences between the two trails.
Yeah.
For one, on the Appalachian Trail, you don't have to worry about water as much,
right?
Because it's literally, I think the farthest stretch I did on the Appalachian Trail without being able to find water was 10 miles, which seems like a lot, but it's not really, because you can hike 10 miles even on a hot day going up and down hills with 3 liters of water. You can do it.
Yeah.
In the desert, I mean, I think the most I ever carried at one time was almost 12 liters of water.
Yeah.
And I didn't do some of the bigger stretches because I just wasn't confident in myself to make it, because some of the stretches were 40 and 42 miles between water sources.
Holy
my
mother!
goodness.
So what'd you do? Just riding a like a vehicle, like a truck or something, to the next one, or like?
No, there's no
no.
Oh,
roads?
you're talking about?
Well, like, yeah, because
I did hitchhike around.
You hitchhiked around,
so that's how you get around. Like, if you want to go into town and stuff, is literally get to a road crossing, stick out your thumb.
You got any weird hitchhiking stories?
Okay, so I've got. It's not weird, but it's funny.
Yeah.
So on the Appalachian Trail, it's really common. Pacific Crest Trail, it is as well, but not quite as common. Pretty much everyone does it nowadays. You get a trail name.
Yeah.
So my group at this time, we're going into the Smokies. We'd hiked the first section of the Smokies, so we got to Newfound Gap, that goes down into Gatlinburg.
Right.
It's like Cherokee, North Carolina one way, Gatlinburg the other. So we're at Newfound Gap, and me and Panda Bear, my name was Fishhook, he's Panda Bear. And then the other car was Kevin of Ohio and Thunderfoot. Kevin didn't want a trail name, so we just started calling him Kevin of Ohio, because that's where he's from. Nothing stuck with that kid.
Right.
I'm
sure he tried,
like those guys were, I'm still in touch with most of them today.
Yeah. It's like a super, huge bonding experience.
Oh yeah. It's the best. But the hilarious thing was, we get picked up, like we hitchhike into Gatlinburg. We're going to resupply. And, me and Panda get picked up by this couple in like a Tahoe or Suburban or something. And they're driving down. We're driving down the road.
Yeah.
And they're asking us about our experiences, like the cold weather. And the night before, it was super cold, and I was just telling them about it.
When were you hiking? Like, what months were you hiking?
So I started in April, so I would have been in the Smokies. I started April 9th, so I would have been in the Smokies early May. So in the mountains, it's still
cold.
Like during the day, you could have 70s, 80s, even 90s, but at night, it was dropping down to 20s and 30s. And most of that was wind chill.
Right.
The winds just really picks up at night in the Smokies.
Yeah. So you're in the Tahoe.
Yeah, I'm in Tahoe. We're going down the mountain, and they're just talking back and forth, kind of relaying news to us, because in 2011, that's like the birth of the smartphone, which none of us have. Right. I still had a little slide phone that had a keyboard on it. Actually,
the QWERTY keyboard.
It was a girlfriend of my brother gave me this phone. It was teal, blue, and white, just the girliest little phone. But like, I could just type on it like a keyboard real quick, so I could just be like, "Bam,
that was
I'm alive."
Cool thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because it went from flip phone to that, and people were like, "You have a keyboard on your phone. You don't have to do the single tapping it like 20
I could
times."
Actually type out a message.
Yeah.
So that's all I'd have. So we get in the car, and these people are just filling us on the news because we've been out for a week.
Yeah,
a lot can happen. And this woman turns around and looks at us, and she goes, "So did you hear they killed Obama?" And I was like, I was just like, what? And like, she goes, yeah, SEAL Team Sniper got him. I was like, Obama? She's like, yeah. And me and Panda look at each other. We're like, are you kidding me right now? Like, is there like a coup d'etat happening? Like a Navy SEAL?
Someone's taken
murdered
over the president?
And the husband goes, no, honey, it's Osama. And we were like,
oh my goodness.
I could not believe.
You're like, we're out for a week, and
someone's killed
the president.
We joked about that. When we're out there. It's like, we're going to go into this trail one day, and then like 10 days go by, and we come out, and the world's completely different. Like something happened.
Zombie apocalypses happen.
Yeah, we'd always joke about it. So when they did that, it was like this 5 to 10 seconds of terror, just like, what?
Like, oh my God,
what's
happening?
No matter how you feel about the guy, the last thing you want is a president to get assassinated.
Oh, yeah.
Like, for multiple reasons, but
that's a terrible thing to get confused though. Osama and Obama.
Oh, we were absolutely shocked. She was like, it's Osama.
Pardon me.
I could not believe it.
Oh man.
But yeah, that's probably the funniest hitchhike.
Yeah.
We got picked up in a Jeep Cherokee in Virginia one time. Had 11 people in the car.
What?
Backpacks and all.
Good God, a Jeep Cherokee?
I mean, I literally had a dude.
That's like a 5 Maxer.
Yeah. You say that. You can get 11.
Apparently, you can get 11 people in here.
Man,
it is a fact.
Were these full-grown men?
Full-grown men.
No babies?
No babies.
Okay.
There were 2 dudes in the Jeep already.
Oh my gosh.
So do the math. There was 9 of us that got in that thing.
What, did you tie some people to the top?
No, but I mean, there was literally like in my seat.
Yeah.
There was a guy sitting on my lap facing forward. Like we're both sitting like this. And then there is a guy sitting on him reversed, like hugging him.
No.
So his face is right in my face. And then right next to me is one of the 2 girls in the group.
Oh,
and they're doing the same thing. So you've got 3, 6, 9 just in the back seat. All our packs are smashed in the back.
Seems like bonding.
I mean, you got to be really close to the guy to be like reverse lap, you know?
Oh, for sure. And let me tell you, like, it may sound weird, but you get out in the wilderness like that, your bonds with people are lightning fast.
Yeah.
Because y'all are going through some stuff together.
Maybe that's what people should try to do more often.
Like if you really want to become good friends with somebody, just go hiking.
Well, it really
is.
Just to make connections.
And it's not necessarily to be good friends. You will find out real quick the type of people that you can be with.
And what type of person you are.
You learned a lot about yourself in the experience.
Absolutely. You learn a lot about you and the people around you.
Well, I guess when you're trying to survive in the wilderness, it's almost, you're not running from zombies, but you are in the wilderness. You do have to survive, and you do have to trust these people.
In a way, but don't get it confused. Like when you say survive in the wilderness, like we're not hunting our own food and stuff like that.
So you didn't do any.
Yeah, you're packing stuff in, and then you're.
Definitely we ate stuff that was wilderness provided. Like we came across different funguses or mushrooms or like wild onions, stuff like that. You can cut for sure. One guy, Thunderfoot, his story is actually really amazing, and if he ever comes to visit, which he will, I would love for him to get on here.
Oh yeah,
dude, we could get you guys both to come on here. That way, maybe you feel more comfortable, and you both. Can come and talk.
I think he would absolutely feel more comfortable doing that. But it's however he wants to, if he even wants to.
Yeah.
But his story is pretty incredible. We call him Thunderfoot for a reason. He's 6'6", 6'7". He's a huge dude.
Jeez Louise.
He is a not normal hiker. Like they don't make hiking boots for this dude. He wears like a size 17 shoe.
Oh my God.
I mean, he's got a real deep voice.
That's a big boy right there,
he
man.
Is. First time I ever met him. I didn't meet him. I heard him. I was coming down off the backside of Standing Indian Mountain.
Yeah.
Because what had happened, we had all camped together, and it was just like a real informal, like, started rain. We all camped together, had dinner together.
Yeah.
And it was just a light drizzle, so we talked a little. And that was the first day I met Panda, really, as well, and Kevin.
Yeah.
Like, I met all 3 of them together. And we go to bed. The next morning, we wake up, and it's just raining. Well, they were already packed up. I'm the worst morning person on trail.
So you're never the... Okay, I've read I was reading a bunch of trail lingo, There was one called the Cob Knocker.
I don't even know this.
So when you said a morning person, I was like, this is a perfect segue. Apparently, it's the guy who wakes up first out of the group, and he's the one that runs through all the spider webs.
Thunderfoot. So he gets all of them because he's 6'7".
Yeah, you're like once
and even
you don't
and this
even
is
hit.
the best part is even if I were to go first, he still gets them because he's so tall. There's a good 7 inches that I don't clear out for him. He's still getting it right in the face.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
And what's funny, he hikes with his girlfriend a lot. His girlfriend, her name is Oatmeal, and she is maybe 5'3", 5'4".
Yeah,
it's a little thing,
right? Way smaller than him.
And he always walks behind her, and because his natural pace is just like 4 miles an hour. Like his gaits are so long.
Good Lord.
So when I'm booking it, I'm hiking at about 3 miles an hour.
That's fast.
That's
man.
a fast walk.
For a walk, yeah.
So my normal walk is about 1.5 miles to 2 miles an hour. His resting pace just cruising along is like almost 4.
He's got to like walk, stop for you guys to keep up with him.
Yeah, he is a tough dude though. He has Crohn's disease, and so he has a lot of things like arthritis, stuff like that flares up really bad.
Yeah.
So it took him actually 3 consecutive attempts on the Appalachian Trail to finish it.
Holy crap.
So the first year he made it to the unofficial halfway point, which is Harper's Ferry.
Yeah.
And the second year, I think he made it a little bit further.
So did he start back from the start each time?
Each time. He started in Springer.
Man.
And the third time, me and Panda, so the second time we took him there, the third time we started with him.
Yeah.
So we did a little hiking with him. And the third one, I actually flew up to Maine to finish with him.
Really?
But it took him 3 times and he finished.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, he's a champ. But he's who I went out to do the Pacific Crest Trail with.
Yeah, so you were saying you guys woke up and then you heard him.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so
what had happened was, sorry, I get way, there's
so
cool. Many
I want to hear it,
though.
I want to hear it for sure, yeah.
So that morning it's raining. He and the rest of the group, we were like a mile from Standing Indian Shelter.
Yeah.
Classic me, I didn't know that. So in a lightning hailstorm, I hike up and over the mountain going to what I think is the next shelter on the opposite side.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the name of it. Probably Low Gap or Sassafras, because that's what everything's named in Georgia and North Carolina. So they had breakfast at Standing Indian Shelter. I hiked to the next one. So as I'm on the backside of the mountain, apparently he had on these giant snow boots to start. And apparently he got his foot lodged in a root.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he fell. And as I'm walking down the hill, all I hear is just fall. But it's just like, imagine like so far away.
Was that a Sasquatch?
Was that a bear?
I stopped dead in my track and I just hear like, you know what it made me think of instantly?
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie Predator?
Oh, yeah. You thought a predator was on the trail?
No.
They exist.
When Arnold is like trying to lure the predator out of the back.
When he's like painting himself on
but he's just
mud.
like that. That's exactly what I thought of. I was just like, oh God.
Is Arnold Schwarzenegger hiking the Appalachian Trail? What's going on here?
Yeah. So, because I didn't really talk to him the night before at all. He was just there. He's a real quiet guy at first.
Until.
And then when he came walking up, I think the first thing I said to him, I was like, did you like yell or something this morning?
Schwarzenegger yelled,
And he
bro.
was like, and what was crazy, he had a full body / backpack like tarp that covered him.
Yeah.
So if you just saw him walking through the woods, it looked like this massive creature. He was huge. So he comes walking up and I'm just like, dude, did you like yell this morning? He's like, I fell down and I was very mad. Because I'm very angry. I was like, yeah, man, I heard you.
Like, dude, I thought
it like echoed through the valley, like birds flew away.
Probably scared a couple of people.
That mess was so funny. But like we all hit it off, but we didn't really hike together at that point. We made it to Franklin, North Carolina. My parents actually came up to see me.
Oh yeah, while you're on the trail, huh?
Yeah. My brother and my cousin was getting married at the time. So my brother was in Nashville with them.
Yeah.
So we ate at the steakhouse in Franklin and they were all sitting at the bar.
Right.
So like I go up and talk to him. We're like shaking hands and stuff like that. And mom and dad goes, "Oh, how long have you been hiking with those guys?" And I'm like, I don't even actually know them. I met them last night. And they're like, "You guys seem like best friends." I'm like, yeah, we kind of do.
Yeah.
Man, it happens that fast.
Yeah.
And I believe I caught them leaving out of Franklin. I don't remember exactly. I know I caught Panda first, or he caught me, one or the other.
Yeah, and then you guys just decided.
By the time we got to the Smokies, we actually all were hiking together.
Now, this picture, is this any of them?
Yeah, it is. Panda is the one on the bottom right.
Yeah.
So the beanies that you see 3 of us wearing,
right,
his mother made for us.
Oh man,
she crocheted those for us. But yeah, Panda was probably the first person that I met and became really good friends with.
Do you see a lot of people?
Panda's the one I actually just traveled the world with.
Yeah.
But yeah, like every year we do a hiking trip together. Like how you get your names is super interesting too, because the guy sitting in the middle is Super Bubba.
Super Bubba.
Super Butt. Probably one of the
Super Butt or Super Bubba?
Bubba.
Okay.
Like Bubba Gump.
For a second, I thought he said Super Butt, and I was like, he must have like an abnormally large butt for a man or something.
Let's not get into the butts.
Yes.
But Super Bubba's probably one of the best humans you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Like he is a good dude. He's got a good heart. And then Tonka is the one on top. He is like a straight Viking.
Yeah.
He has no real facial hair, but also like just hair down the middle of his back. He's an interesting cat. But Panda, he was one of the first ones I met, but this was the day we finished. And you can see I'm a lot thinner there than I used to be. I mean, than I am now.
Yeah, how many pounds you tell me you lose? 50?
I lost 75 pounds.
75 pounds.
Yeah, I lost a lot of weight. I started off looking like I do now.
You look like a mountain man.
I was.
You did.
But you said there's not really any kind of survival stuff. You go into towns, you get anything that you need, and then you hit back the trail.
Correct.
How do people take? Because obviously there's towns that you are adjacent to the trail that you go into.
Oh, there's some that the trail literally is on the sidewalk through town. Hot Springs, North Carolina.
Yeah.
One of my favorite places. If you want to get on your wife's good side.
Yeah.
Book a hot spa day there. It's beautiful.
Checked in my mind.
It's beautiful. And you can have a day at the spa, and it's like these fenced in thermal pools.
Oh man.
And you pay and you can just go chill. And apparently they're really nice. I've yet to do it.
It kind of I think I'm gonna take
Kaylee there sometime. She just doesn't know it yet until she watches this, I guess.
You just tell her to skip past the time mark, whatever it is,
Yeah.
And don't watch this time mark.
I mean, it's okay. I mean, I'd tell her. She don't like surprises anyway.
So it's kind of like those monkeys in Nepal or whatever. Those monkeys that
that's in
bathe.
That's Japan.
Is it Japan?
No, they may be in Nepal as well, but in Japan.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I actually got to see those monkeys, but they weren't it was summertime, so they were up in their little mountain city. We were in Kyoto.
Yeah, they have like a little city up there. It's so weird, man.
Yeah, I'll have to show y'all sometime. But there's like videos of me feeding them.
Wait, is that the one on the picture where it's just like an old monkey just sitting there and he's just kind of like pondering in the sunlight?
Yeah,
yeah,
it's the same place.
Yeah.
But I think the guy told us there was 108 monkeys or something like that,
man.
But most of them weren't out. But they don't like to be looked at or anything like that. But they're really chill. Like you didn't get too close to them, they were fine.
If you got too close, they got violent.
They would just kind of scream at you.
Yeah.
I guess they could bite you. It's a wild animal.
Did they sling feces?
No, they didn't do any of that.
That's good.
They were super chill. Like I enjoyed them. It was kind of funny. Like I actually fed one that couldn't have been more than a year old. It looked pretty young.
Yeah.
But it was funny how
baby monkey.
It just reminded me of this greedy little human.
Yeah.
It was just like, give me that food.
Give me the banana. No.
Like, because it would hold its hand through, and if I took too long to give it to it, it'd just be like,
you better hurry up, dude.
I know you got that nana, bro.
Yeah.
It's like a kid wanting your phone.
Yeah.
Give me the phone. It's got games on it.
I need apps. I need the apps. Give me the apps.
But it's just freaky, their facial expressions, stuff like that. I've never got to be that close with a primate.
Yeah, like just watch them.
Yeah, and they're just so, they're to a point, they're a lot like us, and then they just kind of stop and we keep going. But it's weird to see.
Do you deal with a lot of animals on like the Appalachian Trail or the one in, what was it? The
Pacific Crest Trail?
Yeah. More so on the Appalachian Trail. I was super surprised. That's one of the big differences. On the Pacific Crest Trail, there's several areas like the High Sierras where you're required by state law to have a bear canister.
Oh yeah, the
and
mace,
I say state
you
law.
didn't have to have one in Tennessee. Like every day, there's a post about bears in Gatlinburg. They're all over the place.
I don't know the exact numbers, but the High Sierras starts at a place called Kennedy Meadows. As far as the Pacific Crest Trail goes, you hike across them, and then you finish in Tuolumne Meadows, which is Yosemite Valley, Yosemite Park. And when you're in the park, you have to have a bear canister. In the Sierras, you had to. So I was thinking this place was absolutely overrun with brown bear, which brown bear is grizzly.
Bear country.
But it's not. There's no grizzly that are in California. They've been killed off.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to go further north, and there's actually people have been talking about they're encroaching further and further down because there's just not as many hunters as there used to be. Right. And with us moving into so much territory, it's forcing them back to where they used to be. So
yeah, because right now a lot of them are up in the Washington that.
Well, there's a bunch in Alaska too.
Well, Washington, Montana, Wyoming,
Oregon,
Idaho,
all that stuff, right?
Oregon, not so much.
No?
It's still black bear country. It's kind of freaky because I think they're black bear. I think, but the fur is really brown. They're just not that big.
Right.
I actually had one come within a few feet of me in my tent. Someone scared it and it took off running, and we were camped off trail, and it just ran right up, saw us, and was like, oh shit, and then took off running the other way. But you could see the bears just like shocked that it ran into a camp.
Yeah, like, whoa, what the heck is this?
Because it just like backpedaled and took off the other direction. We startled it. I was sitting straight up in my tent, just like the guys with me at the time. His name was Pigpen, because
these names are very interesting.
Well, everyone's got a story. Pigpen, we called him that because he was just a filthy little man. His tent was a pig pen.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
He just like packed his tent up and left crap in it.
Well, he'd be exhausted, and you'd see him over there eating trail mix, and it's just falling down his face.
Goodness gracious.
And he's just like...
You didn't give a... He's what I like to call don't give a fuck Chuck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He did not... It's just because he'd be exhausted, but it just cracks us up because every morning, our tents are lightweight. You pick them up, you shake them out to get the dirt and stuff out.
Yeah.
And there would just be so much food that would come out of his. Be like,
dude,
what are you doing?
Look at all that waste.
To his credit, he had never really been camping before until he decided to hike the Pacific Crest Trail with us. So, I mean,
Pigpen was a brave man.
The cojones on that dude.
Yeah.
I give him a lot of props.
How long you been camping, man? Never camped.
How long have we been out here, guys? Yeah. That many days. That's how many days I've been camping.
Have you ever seen Sasquatch?
No. I actually did work with my dad for a customer he is a very big Sasquatch believer. Yeah. I didn't know this. I kind of felt bad, but that was one of the first questions he asked me. He was like, so I hear you spent a lot of time in the Pacific Northwest and out in the woods.
Mm.
He goes, what do you think about Bigfoot? And I was like I kind of laughed at it. I was like, oh man, Bigfoot.
Here we go.
And then as I said that, I just kind of took a quick glance around the room and started noticing Bigfoot figurines and posters and things like that. And
you're like, oh.
I was like, I'll just put it to you like this. Anything's possible. I've been in the woods a lot. I would say more than 80% of people.
Yeah.
Never seen anything to remotely make me think that Bigfoot exists.
Have you ever seen anything that made you question reality in a way? Something that just you saw it and you were just like, I don't know what that was. I can't explain that.
Yeah, but that could be from being exhausted. I think you see a lot of stuff because you're tired.
The fact that Megan just said that actually did make me think of one. Actually, this was.
Is this the Splinter story?
No.
Okay.
No.
You got to tell that one too.
Okay, I'll tell.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
This was, I don't know exactly what this is or what caused it. We've read up on some of it, and we think we know
it was swamp gas.
Definitely swamp gas with a weather balloon at the same time. No. Me and a couple of friends that love to hike as well.
Yeah.
I have to give his wife credit. Their name's DJ and Jen. And
so it was a wife and a husband hiking together?
Yeah, and she was like...
Wow, she must really love him.
Oh, no, she loves it just as much as he does.
Oh, really?
They both love to hike.
See, these are the type of people I need to meet because I can't get that one over there to go. I want to go. This is my thing. I want to go out in the woods. I want to be in the woods. I want to be in nature. And my husband's like, it's hot and there's snakes.
I mean,
and he's like,
he's not wrong.
Always,
there are those things.
He's always getting on to me because he's like, you're not paying attention. You just go and you don't look for the snakes. And he's like, you're not even looking at the ground. You're just like, I'm going to go to this waterfall, and you're hyper focused on the waterfall, and you're not looking at all the other stuff around you. And there has been times that we went hiking together, and I left whoever I was with. It was us and another friend of ours. And I left them because they were just going too slow. Because I was like, I'm going to go where I want to go, and I'm going to see what I want to see.
Hyper-focused.
I was hyper-focused. And apparently, I had stepped over the snake, didn't even notice it, and they saw it. It was a huge, like, what kind of snake was it?
It
was just like a huge king snake that I didn't even, I was like, there was a snake on the trail? You never even know. I never even noticed it.
I can't tell you how many times that happened to me. I mean, there was some I obviously did notice.
Yeah.
But I totally get that. Like, you get super focused on where you're going, or you just start. Me personally, like, I'm not one that goes and talks to people or would get a therapist or something like that. Not knocking those things. No. But for me, that's what being in the woods alone is for me.
Well, I think
self-reflection.
It forces it on you because you have, like, it's hard to turn your mind off. You think about things all the time. So when you're out there, you get really self-reflective.
Right, because there's no distractions.
Well, I think
not,
you get really back down to your basic instincts, too. Because you're in nature, and you have a lot more time to...
You're primal.
You get a lot more time to think about what you are, essentially, not all these other conscious things.
And also, there's zero distractions.
Yeah.
Like, even if, like, one of my favorite things to do is just put headphones in and hike. And even with that, it's still, I mean, there's nothing better than listening to some, like, really peaceful, relaxing music of some kind.
Like, what's the guy with the jazz guy?
Kenny G.
Kenny G, yeah.
I mean, not to say that I didn't listen to some Kenny G on trail. I mean, I listen to everything. But I'm talking about, like, it's almost like, you know how you can go to, like, Cracker Barrel and just buy, like, it's like mountain sounds.
The mountain mix.
So
Mountain Mix
like
2019.
Be like a hammer dulcimer, and just like you hear like an elk in the background.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but just like hiking through some of those places with that music is so peaceful. And it's just so relaxing. But in doing that, like, you just start thinking about things like, you know, did I do this wrong, or things that's bothered you didn't even realize bothering you, and you end up getting a lot of time to deal with those.
To surface.
You do.
Yeah.
A lot of things surface. I mean, even when I went to Chimney Rock, when I climbed it by myself, you know, because Brandy couldn't do it. She wanted to, but she wasn't able to. But I climbed it by myself, and you I don't know. There's something about it to me, especially when you get in higher elevations. Maybe it's like lack of oxygen, but you do feel closer to spiritual things. You know, you feel
for sure. It definitely. I tell a lot of my family members, like, that's my church. That's the place that I go.
Well, I mean, not that I'm a very religious person, but it makes me feel closer to God to be in places like that. Like I said, you know, to be at a higher elevation, to see. To me, and I know not everybody would be like this, but to see what I would consider intelligent design in full view, you know, because if you're at the top of a mountain, God's artwork is all around you, basically. I mean, and it makes you just feel, I don't know, to me, it's empowering. For sure.
And to, you know, everybody has their different interpretation on it, for sure. It's so beautiful. And the fact that it's so hard to get to some of these places.
Oh, yeah.
You feel like a sense of, like, you earned it.
Yeah,
you've earned it in a way. And not only have you earned it, but it kind of reveals something about your own character getting to some of these places.
Oh, yeah.
And it's I don't know, all of it together is just very therapeutic.
It's very rewarding.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be, I mean, as far as like the 2,000 miles of the Appalachian Trail, I can't imagine how much self-reflection and you know, stuff you put yourself through. And
that's a lot of self-reflection. Yeah.
I mean, you could be like a totally changed person at the end. Maybe not completely changed, but like you've been through so much, but you did it to yourself for this personal reward at the end.
I think it's, for me, and a lot of people that hike it feel this way too. it's just such a healthy mental thing to do, because like you hear people talk about it, and it's like 80% mental, and you keep hearing things like that around it. It's just like it's more mental than it is physical. And yeah, it's hard on your body. I mean, by the time I finished, even though like I'd lost a bunch of weight and I was in great shape, the just toll it had taken on my body, like hiking 10 or 15 miles at that point, like I'd hiked a 30-mile day. I'd hike 20, 25 regularly.
How long did you sleep when you were done? Like when you were just after this, like...
Oh, that's the best part. You go down, you sleep when the sun goes down, you get up when the sun comes up. But we were going to bed at like 8, 9 o'clock and getting up at like 8, 9 o'clock. Yeah. So it was like 12 hours or more of sleep every single night.
Did you sleep like 30 hours after this?
After that, honestly...
Did you just go down to a hotel and just said...
No, honestly, this was probably one of the most bittersweet moments of my life, because we thought we were all just going to be ecstatic.
Yeah.
That this journey, this pilgrimage, whatever you want to call it, was over. Yeah. But we all got up there, and it was kind of like we gave the cheers and the hollers and the yells, and then we stopped, and we're just sitting there, and we're like, man, this is over. Like, we've got this hike down this mountain, and it's back to reality.
Back to the
it
world.
Was a strange sadness that set in almost. And like, we weren't feeling sorry for ourselves or something, so don't take it that way. It's just, at some point when you're out there for that long, it goes from being a challenge to a way of life.
Yep.
Like, you literally feel like you live this way now.
Right.
And then just as quickly as you have that, you get to a day to where that's over. And I imagine there's a bunch of things in life that it's like that.
Well, I mean, that's finding the joy in this journey, and then starting, because you really and that's one of the things about this podcast. When we talk to people, it's like people have started their journey over time and time and time again. You know, they do. People change,
like reinvent themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it's like different seasons of your life, basically.
For sure.
You know, this was a lifestyle for you for this many days, and that was the way that you lived, and then you have to come back into the concrete jungle. You know, that's kind of...
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like. It was... and it's not like I had an epiphany while I was out on trail. Like, one day I was just like, oh, I have the meaning of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not like that at all. There's some days, I mean, if you could have just been like, omnipresent to watch me like pitch a temper tantrum one day.
Right.
Like, one of my favorite stories to tell people is like, you ever get mad when you're on trail? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. All the time. There was one day, it had rained the night before, and it was a beautiful day out, much like this, like you see here, but all the rocks are wet and moss covered. This was going through the Shenandoahs. And I probably fell. I mean, like, just fell probably 10 times.
Oh.
And I was
just slipping.
Furious. Like, I was just, like, I remember slinging my backpack one time. I mean, I got my entire life in this backpack, and I don't need stuff in that backpack broken. And I slung it like it was, I wanted to kill it.
You didn't care. You was like, screw this. I'm done.
Yeah, but I'll never forget. I'm like, I fell for the last time. Yeah. And I stood up, and I just say every cuss word, but I'm like, shit, just losing my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
Count to 10 moment.
Like, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I got all that out. Let's just keep walking.
Were you by yourself?
I was by myself at this point, and I literally walked 10 more steps around a corner, and there's a couple just sitting there, just like completely stoic. Like, and I could tell like both of them just didn't want to make eye contact with me.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw them, I was just like, oh my God. And like, they look at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry. And then I just walk off.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm sorry for myself.
I apologize for my behavior.
But I mean, you have those moments. I mean, it's every emotion. But I'll say this. I was very fortunate. I got a football scholarship coming out of high school, went to a small school, played football. It did not go the way I wanted.
Yeah.
And because of that, I had such a negative attitude. It was such a piss poor attitude about everything. Instead of finding a way to be victorious in some way in that situation, I just gave up. It's the only true regret I have in my life, is giving up on that.
Yeah, life just pisses you off, and you just...
Yeah, I'd had enough. Like, the school was not for me. I mean, there's nothing wrong. It's a great learning institution. It just was not for me.
Yeah.
But the football, everything, and I love football. I love because it's like one of the only things
you get to hit people.
I get to be
nice.
super male aggressive and take it out, and because I'm like a gentleman.
You're like one of the most positive, gentlemanly gentlemans that I know.
Oh, I appreciate that. And I'm not that way all the time.
And and I could imagine like. I see why he likes to hit people in football.
But football is such a Southern tradition too. Like all of my, I'm the only girl in my family, but all of my brothers have played football, whether they wanted to or not.
Yeah.
So I get that. Like I know at least 2 of my brothers who would have liked to have gone on and did more with football, but then they just quit doing it.
And see, I was super fortunate to be a part of a high school team that was super talented.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We definitely had more. We had, great winning tradition by the time we left.
What position did you play?
I was tight end. I was the world's shortest tight end, but I was good at blocking. I was good at hitting people.
Oh man!
But I wasn't. It's not like I was I just worked really hard. I wasn't like a great athlete necessarily. I did have some talent, but there were people on that team that were much more talented than me.
But you put the work in though.
Yeah, because I wanted it. I wanted it bad. And by the time I got to college, that love, it turns into more of a business.
Yeah.
But it also had more to do with my attitude at the time. I couldn't self-motivate. I was just like, I didn't come around and say it like this, but it was like a real woe is me attitude.
Yeah.
And my father, his family, his dad's side of the family is from Iowa. And they're hardworking.
Salt of the earth.
Yeah. I mean, they're hardworking people.
Yeah.
Midwest, survive up in those cold winters.
Oh yeah, man.
And there's a part of that was him. He used to. I mean, he was hard. He was hard on us when we were young.
Yeah.
I mean, he worked us hard, and he would say it wasn't hard enough. But I really appreciate him for that. I really appreciate that. But when I gave up on football, I know he was disappointed, but I always thought he was disappointed just because I wasn't doing something that he loved and was kind of living vicariously through me.
Yeah.
But he was really disappointed that I just gave up like I did.
Yeah.
He's never said that. And if I said it like that, he would probably even argue me like, I'm not disappointed in you.
Yeah.
But I know like that's a big part of it. So fast forward to when I'm hiking this trail and I call him one day, and it has been, so you remember the tornadoes that went through Tuscaloosa?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes.
So that storm system passed right over us. And I was in the NOC outside of Murphy, North Carolina. And a tornado actually touched down out there. The weather's super bad, but it was just torrential downpour.
Jeez Louise, man.
And we're hiking in it. And I finally get to call him one day. And he's just like, man, how you doing? I was like, it's raining every day. Like I've been soaked for a week straight.
Raining cats and dogs.
And he goes, well, is it miserable? And I was like, hey, it's better than not having any water at all. And he was just like, wow. He was like, who is this person? Just like finding the best in any situation.
Yeah.
Just that little moment. Because
it's like he was glad to see. He's like, wow, thank God you're starting to.
Yeah, because I went a long time where I was just like, I think I was borderline depressed because I had worked so hard to get something and then it didn't go my way. And instead of trying to find a different route about it, I had just given up.
Well, that's cool.
At such a young age.
Yeah, this like almost bled that out of you. Like
it did.
You know what I mean? And you got to go to really what your core values are, which is you're a positive guy and you're a good guy. It's just everyone has their moments, man.
Yeah, but some people do just give up. They don't keep going. They just, and I think that, like you said, I think we've all had moments like that where we've been at this place where my life is just terrible and there's nothing else I can do.
Right.
Instead of trying to continue a different type of journey, to continue something new, to find something new that you enjoy, or to be grateful. Because gratitude is.
Yeah, and that's something that's very much made me do too. I'm very appreciative of everything. And it's actually, in some ways, it might be a little bit of a hindrance because I'm even thankful for we've had our struggles at work. And I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful in a way for it.
It makes you stronger.
Yeah, for sure.
At the moment, you're probably not thinking about that. You're probably thinking you want to strangle someone.
For sure. There's a lot of that. I have more days here recently.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to just move past that because it's no way to be, and it is what it is.
I've been trying to meditate every morning. I take like 5 minutes, and I just meditate and just it helps because it's like you shut the world out for like 5 minutes and you try not to think about anything, but you just focus on your breathing and just you're in. You know what I mean? You're just like. Just think about breathing. That's all you're thinking.
I was going to say, I've heard of people doing that. Me, I try to make it a point when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, today's going to be a good day. Even when I know it's not.
I think that helps because you're trying to set the pace. You're like, if you're already in the morning, you're like, this today's going to suck. It's like.
You've already set the tone for the day.
I was going to say, like, it sounds weird to say, but like, if you kind of speak it into existence, like you say, today's going to suck. Like, you say it enough times, you start believing it.
It's gonna suck. Yeah.
Well, your brain knows, and when you tell it a story, that's the story it's gonna believe, and that's the story that's gonna play out in your life, and so that's why you have to tell yourself a new story. Like, I could have a terrible story. I have multiple sclerosis. I could tell myself all kinds of things, and I've been in a terrible spot in my life, and I know a lot of people who have. But I refuse to continue to tell myself that story. And people really need to think about that. Like, your brain is going to live out the story that you set forth. Yeah. That's, a really important thing.
And I know there's a lot of people out there that have demons that they battle every day. Like, there's just things that they can't get over. And a good start is it's kind of like faking it until you make it. Just tell yourself it's going to be a better day. It may not be any different than yesterday, but if you do that long enough, you maybe get a few good days in a row.
Eventually
maybe a few more.
Well, and then you have to see what kind of patterns you're playing out every day. Like, what am I doing every day that's making my life suck?
That's true.
Am I making changes to make my life better? Yeah. Or could I take a break?
Maybe I shouldn't do those sucky things.
Or and maybe do prayer, maybe do meditation, maybe go on a walk every day for 15 minutes and and put a phone down, connect with somebody, a real person, not online, connect with nature. It's a journey for everybody.
For sure. And it is what you make it.
That's right.
You got to go through some stuff you don't want to go through.
Speaking of going stuff that you don't want to go through, what was the weird thing you saw in the woods?
The weirdest thing?
Well, the thing that I think that you were going to say.
Man, talk about getting detoured into something else.
I know, we did.
you said weird thing, and then I was like, I got to.
Let's circle back around to
circling.
I'm the worst storyteller. Sometimes.
No, that's what's great about it, because we go off on tangents.
We're no better.
We are tangent whores.
Yeah, we're like, I'm going to grab this piece of information.
What's that?
I'm going to run with it. We're squirrels.
Yeah, we're squirrels.
Okay, so back to DJ and Jen and the weird thing in the woods. Okay,
the weird thing, yes.
So what they wanted to do, they had been slowly hiking the Georgia section of the Appalachian Trail, and they had the last section to hike before they got to the North Carolina line. So I went with them. I'd gotten out of shape because I had just, in the past couple of years before this, got into drafting in the engineering department at my old company.
Yeah, that'll do it.
And just sit behind a desk.
You'll sink the pounds will just continue.
Well, that's why when I tell people, I'm like, I've through hiked the Appalachian Trail, did about 800 miles of the Pacific Crest Trail, traveled all this, and they just take a look at me and I'm like, I know it doesn't look like it now, but once upon a time,
it has happened. Okay,
it has happened, and it's some of it's surprisingly more recent than you would believe.
Like, I have plenty of proof.
I also really like video games and movies and sedentary things like that happens.
I like food, video games, and working in a chair. Okay,
we go hiking and we get to the North Carolina line, and there is a section of the trail called Kelly's Knob, and Kelly is a bitch.
Yeah.
Both, I don't know if she's a person, but it is a tough section. It is uphill for a long way. And I remember getting to the top of Kelly's Knob.
Yeah.
And just sitting down, and I'm like, just fell asleep as soon as I sat down. It's like 3:00 in the afternoon, and I just wake up to DJ laughing at me.
Yeah.
No, but it's not like a nap. Like, I'm going to take a nap. It was like I sat down and just.
Yeah.
Like, I have narcolepsy?
Oh, yeah.
So we end up hiking. I am exhausted at this point. Like, we get to the North Carolina line. We set up camp. It's really overcast out. I'm just sleepy. And I'm sleeping in a hammock, and I can't wait to get in that hammock.
It's like one of those lazy days, right?
Yeah. And see, Jen, Jen at the time is 6.5 months pregnant.
Wow.
Really?
She's a champ. Like,
Dang,
she
son.
is hardcore. She went on a hike with us when she was like 8.5 months pregnant.
Well, I don't know how she did it because I tried when we went to
She's got
when
cojones,
I was pregnant with my first. We went to Amicalola Falls because I told Matt, I said this baby's gonna come out, and I walked up and down all those stairs at Amicalola Falls. My daughter would not come out. I was like so upset. Yeah. I was like,
you're like trying to force her out.
I did all of these stairs,
just
all these stairs, yeah,
just jangling yourself like some keys. Come on,
that was before people started dancing to force the kids out.
Yeah. I'm gonna shake you loose, little one.
I'm gonna walk up all of these stairs. It's gonna be great.
Just pop her out right on the stairs. It is
so hard to walk up and down the stairs when you're 9 months pregnant. So God bless that lady.
Yo, yeah, she's a trooper. So I was kind of hating on myself because I'm like, I'm exhausted about to die, and I'm looking over a 6.5 month pregnant Jen.
Yeah, you're like,
DJ,
I have no excuse.
And they're just like, what you want for dinner? I don't know. What do you want? We should probably fix this, this, and this. It's like, how you feeling, Jared? And I'm like, I'm okay. Okay. So I remember we're sitting there, and
oh my God.
Like we're
it's so funny to hear them be so positive. You're like, I don't care.
I was like, boil some water. I'll just drink that. And so we're eating dinner, and I'm like, guys, I gotta go use the bathroom. And they're like, man, are you okay? I was like, I'm just so tired. I was like, I'm fine. I was like, I can't believe how bad a shape I've gotten in.
Yeah.
And so I remember I walked off. I walk a couple, like more than a couple feet. I get, I don't know, it's a couple, like 20, 30 yards from camp. Yeah. I'm taking a leak. And I'm just kind of deliriously staring off, just peeing. And I look down, and I'm like, oh my God, the ground's moving. I was like, I guess that's just the moon. I look up, and it's heavily overcast. There is no moon at all. There's no lighting. And I'm like, huh. And I look back down, and the ground's just got this light hue of blue, and it's literally moving beneath my feet. And I was like, well, I'm hallucinating. I'm that tired. Like, I'm that delirious.
Hallucinations have started.
I was like, because I've been to the point to where I'm absolutely out of it. Just like, especially on the PCT. I just get so hot, so tired that I'm just like, recognize that I'm losing it. Not like going crazy, but just like, okay, I'm done hiking for today. I've pushed myself too hard.
But Mirage,
So I come back and sit down to finish my cup of ramen or whatever I made, and didn't say anything to them. And DJ's like, all right, I'm going to go now. And DJ walks off. About 15, 20 seconds goes by, and I hear, holy shit, dude, the ground's moving. And I was like, it is.
I'm not hallucinating.
He goes, yeah, man, it's like glowing. I was like, okay, good. I thought I was hallucinating. No, you start laughing. So I guess come to find out that like earthworms, bugs, anything like that, there's a bacteria that will actually grow on the ground, and it will glow blue in the night.
That's cool.
And there's actually, I didn't know this, but there's a Civil War story about this. There was a battle in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And a bunch of the soldiers, that happened in late afternoon going into evening, had been wounded, and it rained. And that was the key part. It rains.
Yeah.
So it rained like the day before. So when we got up there, it wasn't raining. It was still overcast, but it gave us a clear view to see this. So early in the morning of the Civil War battle, the medics start going out and trying to retrieve what guys they can. And they notice that these guys have mud all over them that's glowing. And they actually documented that the soldiers that had the glowing mud in their wounds healed faster than the ones that didn't.
That's crazy.
And so whatever bacteria that is, I still don't know all the details, but apparently it'll get on like earthworms, bugs, anything like that. So it literally looks like the ground is moving.
So yeah, because it's just covered. They're covered in it,
and it's also on the leaves and stuff, which gave the appearance like of everything moving.
That's pretty good
because the wind was blowing through there.
That's pretty creepy.
But I thought I was totally tripping. I was like, well, what is going on here?
Balls, and I don't even know what I took. Man.
I was like, what'd you guys put in my ramen?
Yeah.
But it's wild. It's wild. And that's what's one of my favorite things about going out and hiking like that. The things you get to see, like, that you didn't know about nature. Like, I actually, I treed a raccoon one time by accident. I walked up on this raccoon and scared it, ran straight up a tree. The top of the tree was dead and falling out. It got to the top, looked at us. The trail goes right by the tree.
Yeah.
And this coon just totally freaked out and bailed out from like 40 feet up.
Oh my goodness.
Just jumps out of the tree, smacks the ground. I'm like, it's dead. Nope. Hits the ground, takes off running.
Oh my goodness.
Holy mother.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
It's like
is
a Terminator
that?
raccoon, man.
Yeah.
What
It just bailed out of the tree.
Boom.
Well, it probably felt it later.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other cool things I got to see was barred owls.
Yeah.
Like mating. Like not actually in the act, but like courting one another.
Right.
And that is the wildest sound you'll ever hear.
Yeah.
They make such a unique set of vocalizations. It's almost seriously like a woman's calling out to her mate to come home. And then when he gets home, she's chewing his ass out. Because he's just like doing this, like, you know, raises his feathers up, just making these like coos at her. And she's just like,
I don't want to hear your crap.
We were cracking up watching. I mean, there's so many things like that. I mean, you see deer.
Things like Splinter, right?
Oh my God, Splinter.
Yeah. Good.
So the first shelter in the Shenandoahs, I was telling Matt about this at work.
Where's the Shenandoahs at?
So that's Virginia.
Yeah.
That's like the northern part of Virginia as far as the trail goes.
Yes.
So, you know, Blue Ridge Parkway, Skyline Drive.
Right.
So the Shenandoah section of the Appalachian Trail actually just weaves in and out of Skyline Drive across the top overlooking the valley.
Yeah.
So the very first shelter I come to, I'm hiking with this couple, Mufasa and Squirrel Nut. And they're not married at this time. They're married now.
Wait a minute.
Mufasa and Squirrel Nut.
I get this. The Mufasa. What? How did the person get Squirrel Nut?
I'll be honest with you. I don't know how either of them got their trail names. That was kind of like a short-lived. We hiked the Shenandoahs together.
Is there a certain point on the AT where you like, if you don't have a trail name, people will just say, "Okay, talk to me for 5 minutes, and I'm going to give you a trail name."
Oh, we tried that with Kevin.
Yeah, and he just.
I mean, we used to call him Harvard.
Yeah,
because he carried a boggle set around him, and then he met this girl in the Smokies who was going to Harvard and fell in love with her immediately.
Yeah.
Father wasn't having it though, so poor Kevin got shut down.
Kevin of Ohio.
But we'd just be like, "Here comes
Harvard."
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why we mixed it with a State Farm.
State Farm.
I don't know why we did that, but
oh god.
Yeah, everybody got a trail name. It seems like Super Bubba had one. And basically he had this girl that was just like, "You remind me of my Bubba, and you're so strong. I'm just gonna start calling you Super Bubba." It just stuck.
Super Bubba.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess if it works, it works.
Panda got his name from this couple.
Yeah.
He had been to Japan. That's how I got interested to go to Japan this past go around. 10 years ago, he went. And so he was talking to some people about it. And he had a bear bell, which is just like,
what?
It's just a little bell that people put on their backpacks. And it's just to create noise because
usually
bears, if they hear you or smell you, will be gone before you can see them.
Right. You want to alert them that you're coming.
You have to be downwind and sneak up on them to actually see one most of the time. He had the bear bell. And they were asking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I hiked with it in Japan." He's like, "I didn't know what they had over there, so I just got it there." And they're like, "So were you trying to scare off pandas?" And he's like, "Those are in China." And they just all started cracking up about it, so he got the nickname Panda Bear because he had been to Japan. And Thunderfoot, obviously, because he's a giant man,
right?
With a size 17 shoe.
What about you though? Fishhook.
So Fishhook came from, I was helping a friend move, and she had thrown all these hats in the trash.
Yeah.
And I found this Southwest Choppers hat, which was not a motorcycle hat. It was a company that built combines. So it had a giant combine. It was just like a John Deere green hat.
Yeah.
Like trucker hat with Southwest Choppers across the top of it with a combine on it.
Yeah.
And it had a golden fishhook right in the bill.
Yeah.
So I wore it. My very first day on trail, I get to this watering hole before Hawk Mountain Shelters, this little stream. And I'm not really sure what was wrong with the guy. He was special needs of some type. Right. But he was out hiking on his own.
Yeah.
And his name was Frog Stamp. And he sits next to me, and he's just so inquisitive. He's a cool guy. He starts asking me all about my hike and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, "Are you going to Maine?" I was like, "Well, I hope to. I hope that's what happens."
Yeah.
I was like, "I just started today, so we'll see." And he just grabs my hand, just stamps it. Just stamps my hand. He goes, "I'm Frog Stamp." And he goes, "And you're Fish Hook." And I was like, we'll see. I like that, but we'll see. And he goes, "No, you're Fish Hook." I was like, all right, man, I'm Fish Hook. And see, I didn't take it for about a week or so. Like, I was just kind of flirting around because I was like, this is a cool concept. I'm going to have a nickname that's going to last me forever.
Right.
My mom wanted me to be Hash Brown for some reason. She wanted that so bad.
She's like, please just take your name as Hash Brown.
She's like, you should be Hash Brown. I was like, I do like hash browns, but I wanted to come naturally. And I was expecting it to take like a month.
Right.
So this is day one. But like a weekend, and people were calling. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I carried the 6.5 pound kukri around, which I don't know if you know what a kukri is.
Oh my God. Why did you do that?
Yeah. We all make mistakes.
That had to have been.
I don't know what a kukri is, so would you explain what
kukri is? Imagine a machete, but it's on an inverted 45.
Okay.
And if you look up what a kukri is on Facebook, or not Facebook, Wikipedia, one of the hilarious things is the traditional kukri was used by like Middle Easterners. I want to say like Mesopotamia and stuff like that.
Yeah. Matt, will you look it up real quick?
One of the traditions about a kukri, I think it's Kukuri. So my redneck accent, it's probably kukri.
Kukri.
Yeah, I'm a kukri.
Oh, kukri. Oh, kukri.
It's good for beheading people, apparently. Terrible for stabbing.
Yeah.
But
it's for slashing.
But the ancient tradition of the kukri is that it cannot, once it is unsheathed, it cannot be sheathed until it's tasted blood. But I had this friend, it was one of my brother's friends, and they're just some good old North Cherokee County boys. Like, they hunt all the time. They are good as gold.
Good as gold.
And that was their rattlesnake killer. And so they gave that to me, and they're like, we want you to carry this all the way to Maine. So in some crazy sense of loyalty, I was like, I'm going to carry that to Maine.
I must.
I carried that 6.5 pounds of cold steel around.
Cold steel.
For 647 miles. Ooh. Before I finally was just like, if I'm going to finish this, this and a whole bunch of other useless stuff has got to go home.
I'm surprised it took you that long.
I was stubborn. I was real stubborn.
Hey, listen, you're from Georgia, man.
That's close. That's pretty close to what I had. Mine did not have the serrated top edge. I see one over on the left in the list of yes, that one right there.
Okay.
So mine was painted black. That one, just like that one on the far left is painted black. One below it. That's almost exactly what it is. So I carried something very similar to that.
Lord.
That's huge, but it's such a nice looking knife.
It's nice. And I was like, this would be perfect. I can chop wood and make fires. And that's something that you don't really learn or know.
Right.
When you're hiking the Appalachian Trail, you do not make fires. People who are camping for the weekend make fires for you. Because when you get done hiking, you eat and you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like you don't have time for all that. You do occasionally. Like if you decide it's like tonight we're gonna hike some beers out and we're gonna have like ourselves a nice camp. We're gonna hike just a few miles, set up camp, and enjoy one another's company. We would do that a lot.
Yeah.
But when you say a lot in the grand scheme of things, it'd be about as much as you go on camping trips normally. Like every couple of weeks, meet up with some buddies, go do that.
Right.
But for the most part, it was business. Like you're hiking places. So when you got to camp at night, you'd sit around and shoot the shit, but you would go to bed. You'd just be exhausted. You'd be exhausted though.
Was there any drunk? Was there that guy, like that, like always, he always had like a flask or something.
Thunderfoot always carried Jameson.
Nice.
I love Thunderfoot so much.
Yeah, but boy, I bet.
How does that do with like dehydration and
not
stuff?
Well.
How much water are you needing to drink? I mean, because you got to drink a lot of water anyway, but then
let me tell you, there's nothing worse in life than waking up on a hot day to hike up a mountain and you're hungover.
Oh, sure. That sounds absolutely awful. Terrible.
It's a good way to cure a hangover, though, because you'll get over it real quick, but it's a long day. It
sounds
rough.
Painful. Sounds painful.
Yeah, it is. It's rough. I was one of those. I love to smoke on trail.
Yeah.
It was. It's like a painkiller as well as it just made everything more enjoyable. Not everybody's like that.
Right. Everybody's got their little vices on the trail. They probably like.
I hear it's good to keep goodie powder on you when you're on.
Yeah,
trail.
for sure. One of my favorite go-tos was Midol and ibuprofen.
Yeah.
I guess for cramping legs and stuff. It's probably got. I don't even.
Oh yeah,
potassium.
I bet you. Yeah, man. Did you keep a lot of bananas?
No. If you hike out anything that's like frozen or fresh, that is a first day treat.
Yeah,
it does not last long.
First day treat. I like.
Now that. Panda, we'd always hike out like some beers or some Cokes or something like that.
Yeah,
those would last like 2 days tops. Panda, on the other hand, that dude had self control. We'd be like a day before town, and he'd just like pop open this can of Coke, and we're like. Where did you get that? He goes, I've been sitting on it this whole time. And I'm like, how? And he's like, I have self-control. And I'm like, God.
He's like, unlike you heathens, I know.
It's like, I'm a master of myself. And I'm like, dude.
Master of willpower.
I was like, I can say no to a lot, but a Coke after 3 days out here? No, sir.
No, sir. 4 hours in, I'm like, where's that Coke? I know I had it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it'd be the day one. And I'm just like, boy, when I get to camp tonight, I'm crushing that.
I'm down in that Coke, man.
I mean, there's so many. One of the, when we left the Smokies, we hiked to Charlie's Bunyan, which is.
Why are these things named after people and strange objects or weird
foot growths?
Weird foot growths.
Well, because it is what it looks like.
I guess so.
Like Charles's bunion.
Like Kelly had he just had a bunion right there.
There's a little loop trail on the AT. It's a 0.1 mile just loop trail that connects. And there's this solid just rock formation that looks like a bunion. And you can just like sit on it and you're overlooking this huge cliff.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we hiked in beers and we all had beers together up there. And it was just like one of the most satisfying beers I've ever had. It was hot. Like the beers were hot.
Oh, yeah. You're like, oh, God.
But that's what's weird, though. Like your body is so deprived. Your body starts using everything.
I can imagine.
Every resource you put in is not enough for what you're taking out.
It's like, I know I have some fat around here somewhere.
I mean, that's how I lost 75 pounds. Your body uses everything. So you go into town, you just eat everything. So that's also why as quick as you lose the weight, you gain it right back and more. Like you just keep eating like you were on trail and you become ravenous. Like you'll go through a stage where you're like, I don't want to eat at all. And
is that like near the beginning?
Yeah. Like first couple of weeks I had to force feed myself.
Really?
And then one day it was like, ooh, I'm hungry like all the time. And it's actually pretty wild. You get so in tune with yourself, you're like a machine.
Yeah.
You'll be hiking and you can feel the very second you burn through your food energy.
That's crazy.
Like you're just like, whoa.
I know.
Oh, it's time to eat.
I must eat.
And you would get so in tune from that you would be like, okay, I'm about to go up this. If I eat 2 Snickers bars and maybe a Cliff Bar, by the time I get to the top, I can have lunch. And then when I get to the other side, I was like, I shouldn't need any food to get through this. I'll just be starving by the time I have dinner. It'll be perfect. I won't be tired on the way up.
Right.
So it's just like
it's crazy that you get into that groove where and 2 Snicker bars. That's 2 Snicker bars worth of hiking.
Snickers bars. Like you could probably get a kidney out of somebody for a Snickers bar. Like they're gold. I mean, they're not that hard to come by until you run out.
Right.
Because
and then you're in the middle of a trail.
It's like the perfect combination for hiking because the way it's got all the protein from the peanuts and stuff like that, but you've also got the caramel and the sugars
and the nougat.
It's got everything in it. So like you break it down in order, like you immediately use all the sugar, but you don't get the crash because by the time you burn through all the sugar and stuff like in the carbs, then you start getting into the proteins of it. Right. So it's like the perfect little power bar for hiking, and they're delicious. So it's perfect. They're terrible for you.
That sounds like a great new Snickers commercial.
I know it does.
People hiking on the AT trail, and they're just like, take a Snickers.
You know, I don't know if anybody's tried it, but I know when I was on the PCT, there was a girl that called up Idaho Potatoes.
Yeah.
And she was just like, I did a commercial for you guys. I want to send it to you. Tell me what you think. And she made a commercial because Idaho potatoes are the best backpacking food.
Yeah.
Because it's just that instant potato pack. You just add boiling water and you can get all the different types of like potato mix.
All kinds of cheddar.
And then you can add in like bacon
Oh,
bits
yeah,
or
man.
anything, or pepperoni and stuff like that. And it gets really delicious. Put it on a tortilla shell. It gets wild.
Oh, yeah. The
Um,
things you can do with potatoes.
Yeah, but it's loaded with carbs, so it's like the perfect lunch.
Right.
And she called him up. She sent him the video. They cut her a $5,000 check. And it's just like, yeah, if you'll just do a couple more videos like that, that'd be, yeah, we'll give you this money. And she's like, absolutely. She was telling us about it, and I was like,
you should have done a Snickers commercial, Jared.
I was like, I wanted to do one for Dollar General. Because
now you gotta tell me what.
They just plant them in hillsides and they sprout out in the middle of nowhere. They're probably great for hikers. Oh my God, it's a Dollar General.
Yeah, you're just like hiking, and then all of a sudden the camera just pans. We're starving, man. We need some food, and just Dollar General, and it's just in the middle of a field.
It's probably in the middle of the Blue Ridge Parkway, in the middle of two mountains.
Yeah, it's just set into a mountain. Yeah,
I know that's like a meme now, but that's no joke. You'll be driving have you driven from here to like Calhoun? You have to cut through Fairmount. There's nothing. And then there's a Dollar General. Like literally nothing but pastures and God's country, and then a Dollar General.
It's just there's like 20 parking spaces.
Yeah.
A Dollar General, and then just nothing.
It's so crazy where
it
they're
was
at.
like that when we were driving.
It's the perfect business model too.
Yeah.
When we were driving from here to Asheville.
Yep.
Like you'll be in the middle of nowhere, and then the Dollar General.
It's like I can smell a Dollar General coming.
Yeah. It's like forest, field. It's coming. I know it's gonna.
And
I know it's coming.
Apparently, Dollar General is like a new introduction to the West, because when I did the PCT, I kept talking about Dollar General, and there was a girl that lived in Oregon, and one had lived in California for a while, and they're like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Just wait."
What is this?
It's like when we get to a Dollar General, they're gonna have everything we can need for hiking. I was like, they'll have your tuna, your ramen, your Nor pasta sides, and then they're gonna have. You want kombucha tea? Well, they'll have that too, I'm sure, because it's out west. And sure enough, they did.
And it's generally $1.
Generally, but it's cheap. I mean, we went in there, loaded up. Like there were some people doing some blisters, so we was able to get little sewing kits so we could pop blisters and thread needles. It's disgusting, I know. But
oh man,
that's the best way to treat it, is to pull a needle through it and drain it. Like leave thread through it through the night.
Really?
It's better to drain it than to tear it open.
I guess with what is it? The pus just goes into
wicks.
It
wicks down the string. But you can find everything you need.
Yeah.
Plus, also needing to sew pants.
Yeah. Shoes. Like, do you go through a whole pair of shoes? Like,
so
how many pairs of shoes did you go through?
Appalachian Trail, I went through 3 pairs of shoes.
Boots or what kind of shoes?
So I had Vask hiking boots, which is a medium to heavy type hiking boot. The boots like you see people wear at work.
Yeah.
Imagine those, but not steel toes. That's stuff like Loa, real heavy. People wear those. They're heavy boots.
To hike in those.
Well, there's a guy that we knew. His name was Peter Pan. He's French Canadian. I absolutely love that dude. He hiked in a pair of Loas, and the dude was a mountain goat. But his boots look, they weighed 100 pounds. They look so heavy, but he was so spry. Like he just boop-a-doo-doo. Didn't bother him at all. And they always say like every pound on your foot is like 5 pounds on your back. And I believe it. The lighter your shoes, the better and happier you'll be. Like that's, and also they just goes in general. If you're even remotely questioning, like if you're going on a week or longer hike, if you're even remotely questioning why you're bringing something, then don't. I mean, be prepared. Don't leave something that can save you. But
what's the essentials?
Obviously, I mean, we break it up into 3 things. It's your home, your bed, and your food. Like, what's your sleeping bag situation? What's your tent situation / hammock? And then what's your food situation? Like how and what are you going to bring for food? Now, there's also clothing. And that's really where the money goes, is those 3, like those 4, really.
Yeah, because a jacket's going to be $60, $70 for a really good jacket.
Yeah, I've got a Patagonia fleece. I knew a guy that worked for REI, so I was able to get a really sweet deal on it. But it's like a $380 fleece.
Yeah, REI they have awesome stuff, but God, they're expensive.
Well, I'll be honest with you. There's some of that stuff. Yeah, it's expensive because it's worth it. I mean, if you're that into it.
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
But it's like with anything, like you reach a point of diminishing returns. Like to go from a Walmart rain jacket to like the lower end rain jacket from REI, you're talking $20 versus $100. And you're not, I mean, you're really cutting down on weight and pack like volume size for packing.
All right.
But the difference, those two differences are huge, is what I'm getting at. That $20 to $100, there is more than an $80 difference worth to you if you're really hiking.
Right.
But the difference between that $100 jacket and a $600 jacket, like from Arc'teryx or something like that.
Yeah.
You're wondering like what's really the difference? There are a bunch of differences. It's a sturdier jacket. It's super lightweight. But I mean, you're talking, okay, my jacket weighs 8 ounces. That Arc'teryx weighs 6 ounces. You cut 2 ounces. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's everything.
But over the period of time, right?
I mean, I cut all the tags out of stuff. Every piece of extra weight that I could get rid of, I got rid of. Everything. Like, I cut it all loose. Like, it was absolutely nuts. But,
I mean, it makes sense after, I mean, how many miles again did you say you did?
So, the AT would have been 2,181.
That's a lot of miles.
Well, we got the 2,000 mile mark. Vermont was closed that year.
Yeah.
Because of Hurricane Irene.
Hurricane Irene.
That's like 150 miles of trail we didn't get. So, I'm a 2,000 miler. I walked like 2,000 miles, almost on the nose.
Hey, man, I mean, you made it to the end, though.
Yeah. For the longest time, I beat myself up about like having to miss that state. And we talked about going back. And like, I do want to go back and do it. But
are you just going to do that state, or are you going to hike all the way up to the end of that state?
Oh, no, it would just be that state.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But really, the way it is, because the same thing with the Pacific Crest Trail now. There's so many wildfires.
Yeah.
It's just whatever the trail is that year. Because the trail's 2,600 miles long. And you end up having to popcorn a lot. Like the year that I did it, there was a 50-mile section that was closed from the wildfires the previous year.
Well, they're having like a wildfire almost every year in California. There's one right now.
Yeah, well, I actually talked to some locals that are from there. It rained. It had like record rains this past year.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, the wildfire season is going to be a mess. And we're like, really? And they're like, oh, yeah, everything's going to grow up big and dry out and cause these wildfires. And it's exactly what you got. That's exactly what happened.
More fuel to burn.
Yeah. And they don't do like we do here. We have controlled burn-offs constantly. That doesn't stop all wildfires. Right. But we don't, I mean, like what happened in Gatlinburg a few years.
Yeah.
That's a freak accident on the East Coast. Yeah. That doesn't happen that often.
No, because, well, it's just green. It's greener out here than it is out in like California and stuff.
That is also true. It's hard. And that's something people don't realize when they kind of shit on California for not having the controlled burns. It's asking a lot to be able to control those fires.
It's a lot.
There's so dry, so windy. Like you can start out with good intentions and actually set a real fire.
And you're like,
even with guys,
we did not think this through, you know?
Well, and they try to, but that's why they just let it happen the way it happens. But there's really no way else to go about it, I don't think.
No, all you can do is do those.
I mean, obviously you'd have to talk with somebody that lives there that knows more about it.
Yeah.
But that's just what I've heard, that it's really, really hard to have controlled burns in those places.
Right.
So but then you have the people that argue, it's like, if we had some, even if they were super small, it would be better than what we've got now. And I'm like, that's also true.
Well, like you take a chance, though.
I mean, I'm telling you, when you're out there, man, you're just like, this whole place is a tinderbox.
It's waiting to go up, man.
So when I was there, I believe it was called Elizabethtown, I think, or Elizabeth.
We'll go with that.
There was a fire. And this was my last section of hike in the desert from, oh man, I can't remember, but it was good to go into Kennedy Meadows. And Thunderfoot and his girlfriend Oates were going to wait. They needed a day to heal up because they hiked a 40-mile section with no water. And I skipped around it because I was like, I'm not going to make that.
Yeah.
And they hiked through it, got to the other side, took a couple days. The day they started hiking, they were like, dude, this is no kidding. When we got to the top of the first mountain, we looked back and the hole where we had started was on fire.
That's crazy.
And so they hiked over the mountain into the valley to go to Kennedy Meadows. And basically the fire never came into the valley.
Yeah.
Because of the prevailing winds. But what ended up happening is the wind shifted and just filled the valley full of smoke.
Oh no, man!
And so as they're hiking,
they were hating life.
Yeah. I got super worried because they told us what day they were going to meet us.
Yeah. Were they late?
Well, that day came, and that day started to go. It was like midnight on that day, and I'm sitting there talking to Pigpen, like, man, we may have to go back and start looking for them. And they're like, and people are like, you can't go back. There's a fire, and I'm like, but I can't. We can't just leave them. I know they're capable, but I mean, what if they really need help and they're stuck out there?
Never leave a hiker behind.
And he had a G spot, so we were really just going back and forth on it.
Wait, G spot?
Yeah, it's what we call it. It's a spot device.
Okay.
We called it the G spot. But it's like a GPS tracker. You can hit an alert on it. And in California, fun fact, as long as you are not doing an illegal activity or doing an activity like if you're riding four-wheelers or something like all-terrain vehicles out in the backcountry without helmets or something.
Yeah.
As long as you're just doing something recreationally and you get in trouble, it is a free evac. Like they don't charge you. Like
really?
It's like a $30,000, $40,000 helicopter ride if you get picked up here.
Oh, wow.
State of California, it's free.
Wow, that's crazy.
I actually watched a guy get airlifted. He broke his ankle up in the high Sierras.
Ow.
Not a real bad break.
Yeah.
But any break is a bad break that far removed.
Yeah, when you're in the middle of nowhere. I broke my ankle out here and it was terrible.
Yeah,
so I don't want to walk. No, I drug myself.
Yeah. He broke
Was his trail name Snap Crackle Pop after that?
Actually, I can't remember what his trail name was. He was sad though.
I bet he was upset.
He was sad when I met him before he broke his ankle, and then he was real sad after.
Sad panda.
Yeah. not the same guy,
right?
But
yeah.
But that was I mean, it's just wild experiences.
Speaking of wild experiences,
what's up?
You want to tell us about Shredder?
Yes. Did I totally just...
We went around that one again.
Man.
I just want people at home to hear it because it freaked me out when you said how big. And yeah, I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah.
Yeah. So first shelter in the Shenandoahs, there's this giant... the first shelter we get to.
Yeah.
Every shelter has a logbook.
Yeah, it's like a hiking diary.
Yeah, and you kind of end up keeping track of people that are ahead, and you'd leave notes for people, and you end up following people. Some of the people that I followed the whole way. It's one guy named Goopa I met on the last day, but that's a different story. So anyway, we had intent to read through to see where people were, if they got off trail, because people's names would just fall off, and you're just like, oh no, they went home, and. So we're like reading.
They went home or died.
One or the other.
Oh, sorry. That's that's morbid. I apologize. Go ahead.
So we're reading through this, and like you open up, and the inside cover is this drawing of this giant rat with a king hat on, and just little rats around him, and it said, "Beware of King Shredder," or King Splinter. I always say Shredder.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was Shredder too. Yeah,
King Splinter. It's supposed to be like Splinter from the Ninja
Turtles.
So we're just kind of cracking up, and this is me, Mufasa, and Squirrel Nut. And there's just every single page you turn is entry after entry after entry. Like Splinter's no joke. Do not leave food out. Splinter is real. Splinter lives here. This is his home. Camp somewhere else. Stuff like that. And like people had like made drawings of this rat like all around the like perimeter of this notebook.
Yeah.
So
he's like a myth, a legend.
Yeah, kinda. And we're just kind of laughing it off. The bugs were kind of bad at this shelter.
Yeah.
But a Boy Scout group showed up, and I'm glad that scouts exist. That's great for the kids, and they're going out and having a good time. But when you're an Appalachian Trail through hiker, and a group comes up like that, there's no bedtime for them like your bedtime is. And you're exhausted. And,
they're not.
They're kids. They're having fun. They're driving you insane.
Yelling, yeah.
And you don't want to be that guy.
Shut up!
Shut up, kid. You have no idea what my life is like.
Yeah, you don't know what I've been through.
You drove here.
Yeah. You drove here in your daddy's GMC.
So we're exhausted. And what we did was, because no one was at this shelter. Like, it's starting to get dark. No one showed up. And since the bugs were kind of bad, we were like, there's no real place flat to sleep around here.
Yeah.
I was like, let's just string our tents up from the rafters, and it acts like a bug net. Like, you don't put any of the poles in it. It's still narrow, so if someone came in, but it's just like adding a bug net to yourself.
Yeah.
So you just take the top of your tent and pull it up.
Right.
So, I don't know. I guess we've probably been in bed like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And we're just laying there and we've just been chatting it up. And we finally just fall asleep. And I just start hearing this like. And I'm like, every shelter has mice in it.
Yeah, it's a normal thing that's
like
going to
people
happen.
leave little bits of crumbs to a ton of trash just depending on where it is. This is the first shelter in Shenandoah, more trash than normal. Hence why Splinter is real. He is well fed. Splinter
Mucho trash.
is, and like I'm just cracking up to myself at this time. I'm like, it must be Splinter on the rafters.
Mm-hmm.
But then it gets louder and louder, and I'm like, dude, what is this thing? And all of a sudden I hear this just like pow, pow, pow. Like something just falls from the rafters onto the deck with us. And I was like, what the hell? So I immediately grabbed my headlamp out of my pocket in the tent, flashed it on. Right next to my boot is this rat sitting on his hind haunches. And I swear to you, it's as big as a cat.
No.
It is the biggest rat I ever seen in my life.
That's a big rat.
I mean, it's like a wharf rat, like something you would see in a movie. Like it didn't even seem real. It was so big. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, well, nope, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm gone. Yeah.
And I was just like, if I was a squirrel nut, we gotta go. We gotta go.
It sounds like it's a movie like, oh, Splinter's here. When Foster's squirrel nut, we gotta get out of here.
When they're both asleep and they're like, what is it? What is it, Hook? And I'm like, Splinter's real. We gotta get out of here. And they're like, what? And I'm like, there is a giant rat in this shelter right here with us.
Did they see it?
Yeah, they ended up seeing it, but we bailed. We bailed so hard. we immediately got our tent, got everything. We just found the flattest piece of ground we could, and we just tried to go to sleep. It was a rough night. But yeah, Splinter is a real. I wonder many days, is that rat still alive? Because that sucker was huge.
Yeah, like I wonder what the first date of. He's probably lived there for years.
I mean, I don't know how long he's lived there, but I just can't believe that nothing has managed to catch and eat him. He is huge.
I know, you think like a mountain lion or something would just like be just watching him, just waiting. Like, I'm gonna get you one day, Splinter.
I remember like laying in my tent that night, and I just kept thinking of what was that movie, The Secrets of Nim?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was like, freaking Nebuchadnezzar's in there.
The rabbit, that guy with the red eyes and stuff. Yeah.
It's a giant rat.
That is one giant rat.
I mean, it was huge.
What were you gonna say, Megan?
I'm just thinking that I would not have stayed in there either.
It's
well,
creepy.
I never slept in shelters. I think my first shelter I stayed in was Gooch Mountain Shelter.
The name's
Gooch Gap. It's Gooch Gap. I know. It's fantastic.
It's just, you can tell it's
from a bygone era.
Yeah. And speaking of that, like, I was reading about the guy, his last name's Sharon, the first through hiker. He did it in like 1953. Yeah, 52, 53, something like that.
Oh God.
What's his name?
Well, see, Ed Gein is the one that, not Ed Gein.
I was like,
serial killer.
I was like, oh God, Ed Gein, the serial killer and Appalachian Trail hiker extraordinaire.
Yeah, Ed Gein. No. Oh. Gein. Yeah, Ed Gein, that's the one.
Serial killer by day, Appalachian Trail hiker by night.
Oh, what was his name? I'm going to have to look it up real quick. But he was, the first.
It was Ed something.
Yeah, the first two.
Sharon or Sheeran or.
No, that's the singer.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
God. Too many famous Eds.
Yeah.
Oh,
his
my
name
God.
was Earl Schaefer.
That's it, Earl Schaefer.
Earl Schaefer was the first one to go Nobo. So he hiked from Georgia to Maine. And he did it in 48.
That's nuts, man.
How fast was he going?
Well, there was a lot of controversy because the trail at that time, it was completed, air quotes. It was done, but it was pretty rough cut in.
Yeah.
So some people claim that he hitchhiked with them. Like, there was just some impassable spots. But either way, he was the first guy that gave it the true blue attempt and hiked all the way. And he said it was to walk the war off. Like, he was in World War II.
Yeah.
And he saw some stuff, man. But he ended up hiking it 3 times. And the last time that he did it, he was much older. And he's like, I don't remember it being this hard.
I think it said he was like 70, dude.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, they do have a lot of older people that hike it, don't they? I mean, I've seen articles about it, and I've seen articles about, I know you talked about your friend that had Crohn's disease. Like, there are people that have diseases that do it.
There was a guy that was completely blind, did it.
Wow.
He had impressive. A dog, and it is impressive because there's some of the places that you go through, I'm like, how he did it, man. That's
even
determination.
With a dog, man,
Yeah, I mean, it's determination because I'm sure he fell. I mean, it's just that dude was a champ. Like, I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
Got that iron willpower, bro.
He had the barefoot sisters, a couple sisters that walked the whole thing barefoot.
Ow.
The first woman to through hike it did it when she was 67. Grandma Gatewood. That woman's made out of nails and leather. she's tough. She did it, I think, 4 times. But the first time she did it, I mean, straight up, just like a stick and like a little sack hanging from it, like a hobo.
Yeah, hobo sack, yeah.
Yeah, and just straight up did it and just put on a pair of tennis shoes. I think she was like 67.
I mean, it sounds like an amazing experience. Why not? Why not try it? I mean, if you don't go the whole way, at least try some of it.
I hiked the part in Georgia and a little bit up into, I think it was going to Tennessee.
It kind of crisscrosses that North Carolina, Tennessee line through the Smokies.
It was like right after Georgia is when...
That's like some of the hardest part.
Dude, we were like, we're not, we're Boy Scouts, so we did it. It was like a week trip thing type deal. And I mean, our scout master, I think he was just like over it.
I would have been.
He was just like, I got to
carry all these kids, and it's tough.
Dude, we were just like, oh, my feet hurt. I've got mosquito bites. I'm itchy.
I wouldn't take my kids.
I'm hungry.
Well, that's one of the biggest difference between the East and the West Coast too. The PCT, everything's graded for pack animals, so it's supposedly no greater than a 10% incline at any given point.
Right.
There's some of it is steeper than that, but not much.
Yeah.
On the AT, I think there's one that's like a 70% incline at one point.
God.
There's a place where it's a super fun site.
Yeah.
So and I have to clarify, super fund.
Like, okay, I thought you said super fun.
Yeah,
and I was like, that doesn't sound
super fun site is where there has been like Flint, Michigan is a super fund area. Anywhere there's been like 3 Mile Island is a super fund. Anywhere that there has been mass contamination by pollution of some kind.
Yeah.
So coming out of where is it? There's like three places in Pennsylvania. It's like 3 towns right there together.
Yeah.
And it's a super fun site. That climb out of there is like rock climbing. It is straight up. There's a place in North Carolina, like leaving out of the NOC. It's a 1 mile section called Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah.
Like, what a name. Like, it's just straight up.
Like you're climbing a ladder.
Yeah, that's what I pretended, for sure. It was not a ladder. It was like crawling up a leaf mountain.
Oh, my goodness.
It was just so slick. It was miserable.
Jeez Louise, man.
It's rough.
Well, tell us a little bit. I want you to tell us a little bit about New Zealand, and we'll probably wrap it up. But I want to hear. Okay. I do want to hear something about your New Zealand trip and a little bit about Tokyo, because you said you did them both at the kind of one after the other, right?
It's like 2 months in one, almost 2 months in the other.
What took you there?
So I've always wanted to go to New Zealand. Like, I had some buddies that went in 2005, some high school friends, and I chose to stay and train for football instead.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, I got to go there one day, when they showed me pictures. So I kind of recreated their trip in a way.
Yeah, it's where the hobbits dwell. So
yeah, for sure. I did not go to Hobbiton because it is like a straight up tourist trap.
I was gonna say, I bet it's just all tourists.
It's
all
like
the time.
It's like $50 or $60 US.
Jeez, just to look at it.
Yeah, and like you can go. The pub from the movies, from the Lord of the Ring movies in Hobbiton is open, but you can only get a pint. Like, you can't get smashed there. But I mean, it's really well done. I've seen a bunch of people that went. It's awesome. So what I did in exchange was, me and Panda was called, they have 9 great walks in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And the one we did was the Tongariro circuit. And Tongariro is Mount Doom from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, right.
So we walked up onto and then around Mount Doom. And I think I sent you some of the pictures. I don't know if it was in your file or not of that. The one, I did see one is like from the airplane. That's actually Mount Rainier when I was leaving Seattle. Yeah, that's Mount Rainier when you cleared cloud cover.
That is gorgeous, man.
Yeah, I took that from the airplane. That
was that going into or out or from?
That was flying back home.
Okay.
See, I wouldn't mind seeing some of that, like in Oregon and Washington State. I don't know about any of that stuff. And Yosemite might be nice.
Oh, yeah,
I don't know
for
anything
sure.
under that, but
well, that's one of the things I learned when I was out traveling. Like, I wanted to go to New Zealand to see all those beautiful things.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Only 35% of U.S. citizens have a passport.
Yeah,
No,
I don't
have one either.
Not many people have a passport, and the reason being is America is such a huge country.
It really is.
Plus, we have Alaska and Hawaii.
Yep.
And we have the territories.
The
you literally have everything. There's really not a need to travel outside.
Right.
And we're isolated in a way. We just don't even realize it. Our neighbors are our allies. We don't have fears, really.
Oh, yeah.
We do, but I don't think they're real.
I mean, to the common public, they're not. I mean, you don't think about that. And like you said, I could go, even just in Georgia, we've got a beach and we've got a canyon and we've got mountains.
Yeah.
We've got it all. So why? I mean,
you've got mountains, you've got plains,
why
you've
travel
got
elsewhere?
city, you've got country, you've
got rivers, you've got, I mean, it's everything right here. And then, you can jump on a plane and go anywhere in the U.S. and see, I mean, majestic things. Yeah. So you don't really have to leave. You're right.
This is very true. And then if you want to see, like, there's a lot of things I've heard about Canada and Alaska both that are very similar to like what New Zealand has to offer.
Yeah.
New Zealand's just very different because it's an island. It's volcanic islands. And the way they were created, I never knew this, but as the tectonic plates move across the earth, there's like one point that this magma is able to push through the crust.
Yeah.
So as the plates move across it, that's why all the islands islands are like chains.
Yeah, right.
Because it's just moving across that
and then
point.
It scoots it up and it moves.
Yeah.
That's how the Galapagos came to be too, because every time it moves, a new island will appear.
The Hawaiian Islands, any of the islands, but that's the way New Zealand was.
I think people are afraid that other countries don't like Americans too. I don't think it's that they don't like Americans. I think it's that they dislike certain types of Americans.
The rude American theory.
There is. But there is a bastion of hope for us because the Chinese are the new worst tourist ever.
Oh, okay.
Did you hear about Chinese people pooping in malls?
No.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I don't hear about it. I've seen it.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, like, there's signs everywhere.
They're the main, what did they say? Oh, those people from South, like, they're from a certain place in.
I don't know exactly where they're from, but this is the first time China has had the wealth that they've had, so people are traveling everywhere, and they have very close-knit families, so they don't just travel like we do, like where it may be 1 to 4.
Yeah,
it is like the entire family, grandma,
like
kids,
19 people.
It can be a ton of people. And individually, I mean, I've talked to China individually, they're great people.
Yeah, man.
I mean, just like anybody else anywhere else, just living life and want to experience things. As a group, it's just like probably us when like traveling groups. They're awful. They're awful. And I'll say this. It's not really that big of a surprise coming from an American to not like that so much.
Yeah.
But like New Zealand people, the Kiwis are some of the nicest people on the planet. So polite. I mean, almost too polite.
They really do. They like, from what I've seen, they do not like being called, saying when people ask if they're from Australia or if they have an Australian accent.
They do not like
they
that.
Get very upset.
It's not that they get very upset, but there is definitely the mentality that they have very much reminds me of a North-South here.
Right?
It's very much like that. It's like they would call me a Yank, and I was like, I ain't no damn Yank.
Yeah,
I was like, well, I guess I am to you guys.
Yeah.
But they're fascinated by our culture.
We're like a car crash to them.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think
they can't
somebody explained it one time that Americans are so individualistic.
Yeah.
And other cultures are more communal. Like, and
that's very true.
I like that because I believe in the individual and I believe in, listen, you're not going to get anybody to do what you want them to do in a communal sense.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, one person's going to break off and be absolutely nuts. Like nobody is logical. You can think you're logical, but you're going to do something illogical at one point. Well, even there are great authors that said, we'll build ourselves a paradise and then we'll tear that shit right down because that's just how we are. So,
there's been the utopian experiments that have never
It's
worked
not
out.
going to work because we're insane.
Yeah,
we're
insane. And there's the individuality of America.
Yeah,
there's the exception. There's the exceptionalism that is kind of a turn off. I mean, you hear somebody running around going, "We're number one" long enough, you're just like, I mean, unless you're from Boston, how many people like the New England Patriots?
Right.
I mean, especially no one for here because of the unspeakable that happens.
Yeah, I know. That was so sad.
But that's just the way it goes. The people that I hung out with really liked me, and I hope that I gave them a positive view of Americans, but the general view of Americans at large is not great.
Loud, and boisterous.
Yeah, and part of that too is the majority of of Americans that travel, California, New York, that's where they're from.
Yep.
So you get those two stereotypes, like the LA, the New York type of people. And not to say that all those people from those places are bad.
You're saying more Southerners should travel.
Yeah.
Southern people are nice.
Well, they had I never ran into another couple from the South.
Really?
I mean, on any of those travels.
I guess people from the South are just like, you know what? Like what we talked about, the United States has everything you need. Might as well not go
down the road.
That's right.
That's all I need, baby.
There's them Blue Ridge Mountains, brother. I ain't going nowhere.
KFC and Walmart. That's all I need, baby. Waffle House and Walmart.
I mean,
go down to Jekyll in the summer, and we'll go up to Cherokee, North Carolina, and play at the casino, and that's all you need there.
And there's something to be said about that. But to be honest with you, going through New Zealand was like walking through a National Geographic magazine. Like every day was awesome. Just gorgeous. I mean, and it changes so rapidly because it's small. But you go from, one of these places, Kaikoura, New Zealand, had 5,000 foot snow-capped peaks here, and people surfing right down here.
That's crazy.
In one view, you've got this little surf town, people surfing, and it's wild too because it's so actively volcanic. 3 years ago, was that? Yeah, it's 2016, I believe it was. There was an earthquake in Kaikoura, and it was so strong that we were talking to a local about it. And he's like, "You see all this rock here?" He goes, "That was the seafloor 3 years ago."
Wow.
And he goes, "You couldn't even see that at low tide." He goes, "It's low tide right now, and this is all exposed. At high tide, it doesn't cover it all." So the shoreline has actually moved out like a half mile in some spots. That's and it's insane. Wild just how the ground just rose up.
Just decides to like, I'm going to move over here for,
And it was, I actually made a video that I haven't posted, but it's just me walking across the seafloor.
Yeah.
And you can literally see these like knife edge rocks to where the seafloor just erupted.
Wow.
And it's like from where it was to where it is now to the tip of those rocks is like 15 meters.
What was the coolest
huge jump?
What was the coolest place? Because I watched your video, the one with the Jurassic Park music.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
It was a straight rip off.
It was so good though.
I just wanted to do something because it's like that place.
It was, man. What was your favorite place over there?
It had to be Milford Sound. As far as just one single place, it was absolutely gorgeous. Kings Pass was great, but Milford Sound is unlike any place I've ever been. And it's actually a fjord. And the difference is a glacier creates a fjord, the ocean creates a sound.
Right.
And so this was a glacial cut in. And the only way to really go at it was to take a boat and just go around it. And it is absolutely incredible. Fur seals are everywhere. There's waterfalls everywhere.
Yeah. Nature abound.
It looks like a whole nother planet. You can't, it's a world away. It literally is the opposite side of the planet, and it looks like nothing you could see here.
I guess that's why they filmed all those movies there.
For sure.
It looks like another place in time.
Hey, and those movies are a great tourist attraction for the country because it's exactly what it is. Auckland is built. Auckland and Christchurch both are former volcanoes. They're dead volcanoes.
Yeah.
Literally, Christchurch, half of the city, the harbor of Christchurch, is the caldera of an ancient volcano that leads out into an ocean. It leads out to the Pacific Ocean. I mean, it's incredible.
When will people learn?
Yeah. Well,
I guess if it's inactive, it's whatever.
Well, they probably already passed over.
That's true.
They do have active volcanoes. Tongariro erupted just a few years ago, but they're not huge eruptions. The biggest problem is the earthquakes. They had a Christchurch earthquake in 2011 or 2012.
Yeah.
I think it killed 108 people. And they're still doing construction. Some of the buildings were like literal steel girders just holding the buildings up while they restored it. Japan was like a cultural...
It's a weird place.
I didn't speak any of the language.
Yeah.
I didn't understand anything, but it was so easy to get around. It was so incredible to get around and communicate with people that didn't understand you and to try their food and their culture.
Yeah, some of those pictures you had of the food, I was just super jelly, man.
The ramen there, one of the places I went is Kinkambo Ramen, and it's like a ancient recipe of how they would make ramen.
Yeah.
And oh my God, I dream about it. It's so good. I probably ate there 10 times. Dude. It was probably some of the best food. I'd never had traditional ramen of any sort. I just had the packages of ramen you buy at the store.
It's heavenly.
Those two are not comparable.
No, it's like it's a farce to call that ramen.
That is just dried noodles in a pack that you add water to.
Called just noodle water.
It's yeah.
Water's noodles with water and flavor packet.
But it is absolutely incredible. The food there, the technology there is wild.
Yeah.
The train system. The train system is something to truly be admired.
Yeah, they have like the fastest train.
I don't know if it's
is it fastest? Or maybe it's in Switzerland or something. But
it's one of the fastest trains.
Yeah, they have it's the bullet train, but it's the efficiency that's so amazing. And I've heard that's something that is
the scheduling is of like each train.
Yeah, there would be like announcements if a train was going to be 2 minutes late. And I'm like, wow.
Isn't that part of their culture? They're like a respect thing. I think a lot of their stuff is around respect.
They have the Shinto religion.
Yeah.
And so there's honor, respect, and duty is really highly renowned. One of the cool stories is about Fukushima.
Yeah.
The plant manager of Fukushima.
Yeah, that guy.
When the fresh water pumps broke from the earthquake, and then the seawater flooded it, and it just basically caused those tanks to explode. It's not like at Chernobyl to where the whole reactor exploded.
Yeah, right.
The containment building exploded, but they could still flood water in there to control it.
Right.
Well, the only water they had access to at the end of it was seawater. Well, the higher ups, the owners of the Fukushima plant, told that plant manager, because he started flooding seawater in of his own accord to keep it from going full meltdown.
Right.
And they got onto him. They're like, you're going to destroy the facility. Shut those off. And he basically prevented a Chernobyl-like accident from happening because he disobeyed a direct command and continued using seawater.
Yeah, he made it a lot. Obviously, it was hard. It was a horrible accident, but it could have been a lot worse.
He saved a ton of people's lives by doing that.
Right.
Both immediately and long term, because of the radiation. He controlled that. But he is like this strange figure that is recognized as such in Japan because he's both a hero
and a villain.
Because he disobeyed his authority. He disrespected his command and did not do his duty.
Right.
But he's a hero for all the people he saved. And I thought that was such a weird...
It's a weird but
to hold that guy in both regards. Like, he got fired from his job, that he no longer can work in the nuclear industry, but he totally sacrificed his entire livelihood for all the right reasons.
For the people.
Oh, yeah.
And the people are thankful to him.
Right.
But he's also regarded in some ways like,
that guy.
He can never work again because he will not follow orders.
The seawater guy, he's no longer, he is no longer
he has brought great
welcome.
shame.
Yeah, he's brought great shame upon the nuclear.
But that culture to me is so interesting. Like, they are very...
It is, man, because they've been around for so long. Yeah, we're a relative, the United States, our culture is
we're babies.
Yeah, we're babies, man.
We don't even realize it. We're not even 300 years old yet.
They're thousands of years old, man.
5,000 years old of like continuous history.
It's nuts.
I mean, it can be tribalism, but they're confined to that island.
Right.
So they have been more or less a nation state for that entire time. It can be defined as various different eras and different times.
I just think it's really cool to see how different they are and like see the different intricacies of their culture and the way that they do things on a day-to-day basis. And like you said, like the respect thing. And there's just all these different things that, you know, and they're really not that far away from us, you know, a couple thousand miles, but
yeah, I mean, they're a 10-hour flight from San Francisco to Tokyo,
but it's like, they're so different and so vastly, they're the same. They're, it's like we are alike in ways, but then in some ways we're just completely.
And a part of that, I'll be honest with you, a part of like the ways that they're like us is because of the end of World War II.
Yeah.
I mean, their electrical grid is set up like ours. The way they do a lot of things is just like us.
American culture.
Well, we have a base there, don't we?
We still have a base
there.
Yeah,
and we have one in the Philippines too. I think that's real close to them.
Yeah, you name a place, we pretty much got a base there at some point. And if we ever put one there, it ain't leaving.
Yeah, right.
That's just how we operate. I guess except for Syria.
Yeah, probably.
But we just moved next door. We didn't really leave.
Right.
We're just
watching.
We just kind of went over here.
Yeah, I mean it's exactly.
We're gonna move a couple of miles this way.
But they are. I don't know. I have a lot of respect for them just because they were so. They were just kind and respectful to me. Like they were. I was a giant over there.
Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, but they were kind of afraid of me, but kind of not. It was weird. Like on a train, they wouldn't want to sit next to me.
The big hairy American.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They're just like, but they didn't stare a whole lot though. I could catch stares, especially like I took a bus one time by accident, thinking I was going to this temple.
Yeah,
and they have these things called Torii gates, and I don't know why they put them up or what the reason is, but there's just hundreds and hundreds and thousands of these Torii gates, one right after the other. So it's like this enclosed hallway. It's like an outdoor hallway of all these. And the Torii gate it's like the two post with the post across is kind of cut on the angle on the outside.
Yep.
And it's like the entrance to a temple, but they have just thousands of these lined up one after another. And I thought I was going to that temple in Narita. I believe that's where we were going. And it was actually in Kyoto itself. And I got lost and just hopped on a bus and rode way, way out of town into like this rice farm village. And I get out there and people are just like staring like they'd never seen an American before. And I was kind of like excited about it. I was like,
I could be the first.
Here I am.
I'm like,
hey guys.
I'm like, look at me.
What's up?
Like, I don't know what you guys are doing.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're saying.
But and this is one of the biggest things I've noticed. I really envy them for this. They take pride in where they live.
Yeah.
You do not see trash on the ground. People do not throw trash out. And the crazy thing is there are not trash receptacles everywhere.
Right.
People take their trash home and process it there. Or there's certain places throughout the city, but there's not many. Their garbage trucks service.
Yeah.
Little trucks.
Yeah.
People handle it.
Well, it goes back to respect too.
They
respect not only the people,
their
but
culture. They respect each other. They respect where they live.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people could learn from that.
That's true.
That's one of the biggest things I took away from traveling over there. Is we do not have it all figured out, not even close. And we are a melting pot here, which causes a lot of innovation and controversy.
Big old fondue pot of whatever.
Yeah, we're trying to mix with people that don't necessarily mix. Certain cultures just have a hard time getting along, but it's happening here.
Well, usually what happens is first generation people never melt into the culture. Usually
100%.
their kids or their grandkids will, because they do love the Western culture. And the other thing is that we get really some people get really tribalistic. You know, you're either part of this group or you're part of this group or you're part of that group. And it's not really supposed to be set up that way if you want it to be a melting pot, which, you know, like for me, a lot of my ancestors from all over. I mean, they're from Africa, they're from France, they're from Ireland. I'm like a mutt. You know, I don't know.
We all are.
Yeah.
I have no idea where I'm from. I'm pretty sure it's fairly European.
Well, I mean,
I have no idea. Though.
I knew my cousin, she does a lot of family history stuff. Like, there's one, my grandfather is apparently using a birth certificate that might not even be his. And what the lady told us,
that's wild.
What the lady at the records office told us, she said what would happen is the white men would have a family in town, their white family, and then they would have a black family that lived near the coast. And if one of the children could pass for white, they would bring that child into their white family. And like if a baby died, and they would use that birth certificate for them. And she said that might have been what happened with your grandpa. So we don't know if that's what happened.
But
it's
a possibility.
That's a possibility.
It's
wild. And so, you know,
not surprising though, I guess.
It is not surprising to me at all. It's just wild that would be in your, like, my family, or like, you know, because obviously I don't look dark or anything like that. You know, he does. My grandfather does, but...
Well, I mean, but it varies. I mean, who's the rapper, Logic?
Yeah.
I mean, his parents are mixed, and he looks like white as can be.
Yeah, I mean, it's really crazy.
I mean, it happens.
Your genetics are really strange.
It's like it's a melting pot.
Yeah, but it's a good thing though. It should
I
be
agree.
that way.
I think it's great to be to learn different things from different cultures, and I don't think we should get so offended to bring things in, especially if it's a good thing.
Well, that's exactly what my point was going to be. Like, I feel like people should travel more.
Yeah,
and just realize there's a lot of good to take away that we could use here. I mean, there's a lot of bad in Tokyo too. Yeah. I mean, let's say Tokyo, Japan. I mean, it's got its own issues, its own problems. I mean, they're a very sexualized culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird. They're all so focused on their careers. Like, they have a negative birth rate.
Yeah, they do.
And I was told to be careful on like complimenting women, because guys are so reserved on making their moves, that when someone does give them a compliment like "you're beautiful" or something like that, it can be extrapolated to more, just because the guys do nothing. They won't make any move. And that's not every guy. It's just more and more and more. And you can see it on the trains. They're so heavily into technology. It's worse than us. I took a picture standing on a train station in Asakusa, and I'm the only person looking up. I'm still on my phone. I'm taking a picture, but everybody's just buried in their phone. That's what everybody did.
That scares me. I mean, because it scares me, because I think in certain ways we're headed that way too.
Could be.
I mean,
well, we're a weird generation in a way, because I assume everybody in this room was born in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people that were born in like the 70s and 80s, and they're the first adults that went from nothing technology wise like we have right now to everything. We crossed that barrier with enough sense to realize what had just happened. Right. And it still happens so fast. I mean, I think of like when I graduated, 4 years later, the first smartphone comes out, and 10 years later, you can't go anywhere without this thing.
Your whole and people's whole lives are on it, and they freak out.
It's true.
Our job revolves around us having.
Yeah.
We have to clock in by it. We have to do reports by it. We have to email one another.
GPS on. Yeah.
I mean, I answer half my emails like answering him while I'm somewhere in the shop through this. You couldn't do that 10, 15 years ago.
You're right, man.
And it's wild.
It is wild. And then trying to figure out how to navigate it, and our own children figuring out how to navigate it. Because if we don't figure out how to navigate it, it will be exactly like what you talked about over there. And I think you're even seeing that with relationships, like you said. You better know almost 100% that this shot you're about to take is going to work. Otherwise, you might be in some trouble.
I know. It's a weird time.
It is a weird time,
Have you
man.
seen that new Bill Burr stand-up? He talks about that.
The paper tiger?
Yeah. He's like, no doesn't necessarily mean no. He goes, there's no. That means no. And he goes, and there's like, no, stop.
Yeah, no, stop. No.
He's
silly.
Like, that's not no. That's just feel like, I just want to make you think I'm saying no, but I really want you to pursue me.
Right.
They're trying to make you work a little bit harder for it.
That's true, man. Well, hey, man.
It's so weird.
We gotta wrap it up, bro.
Dude, that's fine, man. I know I'm long-winded.
No, I love it, man.
This was
you
fun.
have to come back.
Yeah, I would love for you to come back, and if you want to get your buddy to come back, or if you could just come back by yourself. I don't care.
Hey, well, y'all let me know. I'm down to come back whenever. This is, like I said, it's the first time I ever talked about it like this. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
I was glad that you had fun, and I knew you would be perfect. Like you would not be nervous or anything.
Well, I totally appreciate y'all inviting me on.
Well,
No
we
problem,
appreciate
man.
you coming.
Yeah. Jared, thank you so much, dude. And everybody at home, listeners, could be night, day, whatever. We appreciate you guys. And as always, we're Help I Need an Adult at Foggy Water Studios. And we hope you guys have a great day, night, whatever it may be when you're listening or watching this, perhaps. So thank you.